Hello guys, just doing some stuff. Second. Alright, this is backwards. 1 second. Trying to figure out how this is gonna work, why this is backwards. Well, anyway, notes. I'm gonna figure out eventually how to actually navigate this thing. On this screen it shows it going backwards, but when you do this, okay, September 28th, 2019. Discussing our book series. And the elements that will change for our choose your own story elements. Okay, so basically, as we go through it, we're going to go through, talk about our story. I think we left off on chapter, let's see. Okay, chapter number 1. All the pre-chapters are done, and we were last finished off on. Okay, we're just going to go through this. We're going to talk about how we're going to use these elements for our choose your own story game in the next book. So starting off on chapter 1. I meet a religious zealot who appeals to the scientific thinking of evolutionary biologist Brett Weinstein. This zealot emphasizes the Darwinian benefits of being a faith-filled believer. Yes, I am speaking of none other than that dreaded metaphorical truth of Brett Weinstein. And he talks about this, the scholar Brett Weinstein talks about the actual metaphorical truth of religion and how, like, when you believe it, when people believe it, it actually gives them an evolutionary advantage. So they should believe in it, or there is an advantage in believing something, even if it's not true, and that has to be called. I mean, he calls it metaphorical truth. All right. Starting the chapter, as soon as the giant flying Gollum penguin has entirely vanished, and just to go back there to the flying Gollum penguin, for people who don't remember giants, okay, Gollum. Going back to the first chapter, for those who didn't remember, the giant flying Gollum penguin. Anyway, going back to chapter 3 again really fast. If anybody has questions about the series, they're just free to ask as we go along, as we go through the content. All right. So we're just going through here. Okay. As soon as the giant flying Gollum penguin has entirely vanished, I find myself at a loss. The monster departed with too many questions left unanswered. And why did he quote Oswald Spengler's 1918 book, Decline of the West? Leaving me with the observation that our civilization has reached a stage in history called the second religiousness. As I reflect on this, I note that all of the elements of my previous vision have disappeared. The fifth eldritch doors, the carmine red floor, the orange walls, poof, all gone without a trace. I now find myself in an undifferentiated dark room. What do I do now? I begin meditating on my surroundings, recalling the words of the famous psychologist Carl Gustav Jung on the subject of darkness, that is to say, the darkness in the human soul. Quote, people will do anything, no matter how absurd, in order to avoid facing their own souls. One does not become enlightened by imagining figures of light, but by making the darkness conscious. quote by Carl Gustav Jung. Could this quote be applicable to me? I mean, right now? No sooner do I ask myself this question than I hear the unmistakable sound of a parrot squawking. Then it happens. A small incandescent light bulb in the center of the room gradually increases in luminosity so as to render visible a squawking bird. The bird begins to speak. Squawk, squawk. Whatever you are meditating upon, it is of little import, for your thoughts are merely the thoughts of a mortal, and mortals do not endure for all generations. Squawk, squawk. So basically, what's going to play a huge part in the series are creatures going through the choose your own story format. As we continue with the choose your own story format, they're going to make allusions to, like, I guess, nihilism, or not just nihilism, but the unforeseen beasts themselves kind of are metaphorical monsters that kind of call into question certain beliefs, certain basic cultural beliefs, and also certain aspects of history, the shortcomings of humans throughout human history to actually live up to certain ideals. So, as the resolution of the scene clears, I now can make out the bird's features. It is a grotesquely formed, tropical-looking species, but not exactly what I would call a parrot. In fact, it's not even close. But all said, it qualifies, at least in my mind, as a tropical species of bird. In any event, it is not the sort of creature that I would imagine belittling a member of the human species. Nevertheless, there it stands before me, with its green and yellow blended coloration, with its unseemly three-toed black feet, as you can see there. Moreover, its actual size is unworldly large, appearing to be just under 4 feet tall. And most of all, the avian bears a hideous and dangerous-looking beak, which kind of resembles a maw. But its unsightliness notwithstanding, I am still in no mood to entertain the bird's insult, which I find insupportable. Tell me, Mr. Bird Creature, I challenge, are you an immortal being that you should disparage me on account of my mortality? Well, are you? Well, I don't have immortality just yet, the bird says proudly, but of this I am certain. My master has immortality. Your master? I am shocked at this word choice. Who is your master, bird? And may I speak with him in person that I may ascertain these facts concerning his immortality? Sacrilegious and transgressing human. Of course you cannot speak with my master, the great cerulean one. Not even I can consult with him directly, for I do believe in the stories concerning him, that he possesses immortality and will give it to me also, provided that I follow the 11 precepts of the faithful. And then, filled with a sudden zeal, the tropical-looking bird announces in a loud voice, I must now disclose to you the representation of the great master, the cerulean one, in the act of creating this world. Is this some sort of proselytation attempt? Yeah. Oh, proselytizing. Okay. If so, then I decline. I am required to do this, for the fifth precept of the 11 precepts clearly states that true believers must share in the sacred representation of the world's creation to non-believers at such times as seem propitious. In this way, non-believers are without excuse. So basically, well, let's see if we have anybody viewing. Well, not yet, but I'm gonna be able to retroactively see how. I mean, after this video is done, I'm gonna be able to see how it actually turned out, how this live stream stuff turns out. So I can actually add other things, or I can actually go through a live stream format. So I'm just gonna stop this video right here and see how this video turns out when it's actually what it actually looks like when I'm actually done with it, and see if I need to actually change the alignment of this video so it works better next time.